Developing this, our Cybersecurity Authority investigating circumstances under which President Mahama's X account got compromised in promoting cryptocurrency.
Also to come, Parliament expected to begin process of repealing law which allows mining in forest reserves as part of President Mahama's 120-day social contract.
We continue in our Ghana Man series where we'll take you to the Bono region. Of course, the indigenous language there is suffering because of a lack of fluent speakers. We have details.
Hello there, good morning. This is News Central. Well, good afternoon, isn't it?
Afternoon it is.
It's good to see you. I'm Kameni Amano.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now.
And our first story, the Cybersecurity Authority says it is investigating circumstances under which the personal account of President Mahama was taken over by unknown persons. The now recovered X account was hacked for over 24 hours, with the perpetrators posting about a dodgy cryptocurrency. Many users of the X space were left bemused when the account was posting the digital currency with questions asked over the authenticity of the post. We know that the presidency has posted suggesting it has retrieved this account. But let's find out some more what the Cybersecurity Authority is planning to do to prevent this in the future. I want to show you aspects of that statement now. We understand the public concern this incident has generated and are actively, unfortunately, that's the wrong, From that statement, aspects of the statement read about the need for concern over what the hacked account has generated. The Cybersecurity Authority also said it is working closely with X and other relevant stakeholders to address this incident and to prevent future occurrences. It goes on to say that the authority will provide further updates on how the investigations progress. Account has been retrieved. Cybersecurity Authority is investigating the incident. Remember that this began Monday. We know that later Monday evening, the account posted again. Now we understand it's been retrieved from whoever or whichever people captured the account, and the Cybersecurity Authority of this country is looking into the previously compromised presidential account. Well, let's have a conversation on the back of this. Let's talk to cybersecurity analyst Dr. Edward Ansong. He's also with the Department of Computer Science at the University of Ghana. Doc, I appreciate you talking to us, but how did this come to you that the president's account has been hacked? Hello, Doc, can you hear me? Doc, you'd have to unmute so we can hear you.
Yes, I have.
Right, Doc, let's try again. I was asking, how you felt about the president's account being hacked. I mean, initially, the account had posted about, some cryptocurrency activities.
Yes.
Subsequently, we hear that this account has been hacked. How does that come to you?
Yeah, thank you once again. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, absolutely.
In actual fact, this comes to me as no surprise at all, because over the period, we do hear of high-profile people, including heads of states, that have suffered such hacks and attacks that do occur most of the time. And this has to do with regards to the fact that because such high-profile people have large followers. So those are the main people that these hackers usually attack in order to be able to broadcast or share information, which are usually misinformation and disinformation, or something that is bent on, embarrassing, let's say in that case, the Cybersecurity Authority and all the security agencies that actually comes to play. So basically, this comes to be as no surprise at all, as it usually do happen.
I see. So, I mean, when you think about it, the fact that the account was hacked, it wasn't for a ransom in nature, but to promote cryptocurrency. Does that draw any concern to you? Does it make you squint a little bit to find out, I mean, why would that be the case?
Yes. Normally, when people want to market a platform or market a product, what we normally do is to seek permission from people who are actually into sharing of social media platforms like celebrities and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, in this case, this has to do with people who are trying to share their cryptocurrency, bit. And instead of using a proper platform to be able to propagate, such thing, they are of the view that and this should actually bring us to the information that just a couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump, the United States president, even shared on his platform a cryptocurrency, platform, and the First Lady of the U.S. also did the same. So probably they are thinking of hacking and using this as a means of also bringing their platform to the followers and to Ghanaians in general, because this is a big deal, because it has to do with the head of state, has to do with the president, and just like us, the U.S. president actually did. So I believe that this is more or less like a way of trying to mimic exactly what happened in the U.S. to make it look more legitimate, as if it is really coming from the president. Meanwhile, it was rather a hack.
I see. We know that the Cybersecurity Authority says investigations are ongoing into this incident. But, in the meantime, how can they ensure that this does not happen again?
One thing I would say is that once the attack has occurred, the possibility of it happening again is still there. Even just as we usually hear of the FBI and the United States Secret Service agents, having their mobile device or social media accounts being hacked all the time and all of that. But the most important thing is that more, stringent measures are actually going to be carried out. I think I don't know how the president actually carry out or handle these social media accounts, because normally it is not the sitting presidents who usually handle or manage their accounts. These are common knowledge that all high profile people, only few. Donald Trump was the only one that I actually saw him sometimes, posting some information here and there. But normally there are people who actually handle these kinds of things. So I think with the CSA coming into it and then trying to carry out investigation and all of that, we need to know the device on which that particular attack was launched. It could either be a remote connection or maybe some other link that was shared that compromised that particular handheld device, and as a result of that has to be quarantined. I know that the CSA has the officers to be able to carry out very stringent, investigations to be able to unravel how these, the modus operandi of these hackers that actually, did this. Because it is quite embarrassing to the nation, and it's very, very serious thing to actually deal with.
Embarrassing and serious indeed. But I mean, what in terms of cybersecurity management, we know Solana is a legitimate cryptocurrency. Solana Africa, that we do not know about. What alternatives are there for, the presidency if they prefer to take this on?
Yeah, normally what people do is that, and I'm taking you a bit back to how these hackers usually operate. Normally, they look at names, and they also look at, captions that are similar to the legitimate, institutions or companies or platforms and so on and so forth, in order to be able to launch their attack. Normally, that is how it actually happens. So the one that actually came out is not a legitimate platform, but it is associating itself with the legitimate one in order to be able to scam people. Because
which means that people should be wary not to take what was posted seriously.
Very wary. Exactly. And then I think the handlers of the president's social media account also have to go through certain level of training. And I know that the CSA will actually do a good job by taking them through these multi-factor authentication measures and protocols and procedures and so on and so forth, in order to ensure that such thing never happens again.
Indeed, Doc. Thank you so much for talking to us. Dr. Edward Danso Ansong is a cybersecurity analyst. Thank you so much. We'll move on to some other stories now.
And we're moving straight on. LI 2462, or the Environmental Protection Law, also known as Mining and Forest Reserves Regulation 2022, controversially permits mining and forest reserves in Ghana, including biodiversity hotspots, and has been a subject of significant debate and calls for its repeal. Let's try and walk you through really what the debate has been about with respect to this particular law, and why we understand the Environment, Science and Technology Minister is headed towards Parliament today to seek to submit a bill, amongst many other things, seeking to remove some of the clauses or essentially repeal it in its entirety. Now, what is the law? The law, LI 2462, like we mentioned, enacted in 2022, is a regulation that allows mining activities in forest reserves, which was previously considered illegal. Now, the controversy stems from the fact that the regulation, as it continues to exist in our statute books, has faced criticism for exacerbating environmental damage and undermining Ghana's commitment to protecting its forests and biodiversity. In fact, a lot of the work that's been done by the environment NGOs, particularly in the fight against illegal mining, has proven that since the coming into effect of this law, a lot more mining permits have been granted to companies to go into the country's forest reserves, which have led to the destruction of our forest bodies. Now, prior to LI 2462, the government's policy was frowning essentially against mining in forest reserves until this law, which opened the floodgates. And then we've seen a lot more companies going now into these forest reserves areas. And we know the conversation in relation to mining in our forest reserves, galamsey, illegal mining, and the fact that as at the last time of checking, the lands minister was telling the country that we do not have access to some 9 forest reserves because they are heavily armed illegal miners within those areas. And so Forestry Commission officials cannot get access to these forest reserves. Well, some 460 water guards have been recruited for inspection on the country's water bodies as well, in relation to seeking to protect our water bodies as part of everything that we've been doing in relation to the fight against illegal mining. We'll take you to Parliament shortly and get a sense of what really the situation is on the ground. But some 460 water guards, like I mentioned, have been recruited for training to kickstart the government's Blue Water Initiative aimed at restoring the health of the country's rivers and other water bodies. And the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Kofi-Boa, who launched the program, disclosed a total review of the mining licensing regime. But let's take you to Parliament right now. I mentioned that the Environment, Science and Technology Minister is in Parliament seeking to have LI 2462 repealed. Let's take you live there right now where he's speaking.
Unit base brings the number to 3 form police bases in the constituency, with each base manned by 30 personnel. Police patrols have also been intensified in the jurisdiction. Escort of market women to the various markets in the Walwale area has also been factored into the operations to provide security for the market women and ward off potential armed robbery attacks. Mr. Speaker, another measure to reduce, if not eliminate, robbery in the area is the intensification of public engagement and creation of neighborhood watchdog committee in selected communities in the Walwale enclave. This enables the police personnel to engage community members to share information with them, educate them on basic personal security tips, encourage them to volunteer information to police, etc. This ensures that the people feel being part of the security architecture in the constituency. Mr. Speaker, following the continuous attacks on passenger buses on the Nasia Walwale Bolgatanga Highway, the Ministry of Interior, with a recommendation for the Northeast Regional Security Council on Saturday, 15 February 2025, imposed a dusk to dawn curfew, Mr. Speaker, in Walwale and its environs. The police and the military are enforcing the curfew. Police personnel have also been drawn from Tamale to support the district command in Walwale, while vehicles and other resources have been allocated to the Walwale Police Command. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And then I would like to follow up to ask the Minister for the Interior whether with the statistics given with the cases of armed robbery, particularly for this year, whether there have been any arrests of any suspect in connection with those armed robberies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't have any information as to whether some arrests have been made. As he knows, the predominant mode of transport around that place is using motorbikes. But I assure him that I will continue pursuing the police, because we've sent some drones to help in the area watch of the enclave. So we want to believe that all those will improve, and once those things improve, it will reduce the armed robbery. But whether there's specific arrest to any of these robberies that has happened since January, I don't have any information. I'll try and get that information from the police and get my colleagues to have them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the Minister for answering to the questions.
Thank you very much. Since this is a constituency specific, question number 4. In the name of Kinsili Ajiman, Abokwa South.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I seek to ask the Minister for Interior measures being taken by the Ministry to enforce insurance of public and commercial buildings in compliance with Section 218 of the Insurance Act 2021 Act 1061.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Safety Directorate of the Ghana National Fire Service considers insurance policy on all designated premises, including commercial buildings, as a prerequisite to fire certificate acquisition. The acquisition of the certificates is mandatory and is in accordance with Regulation 1C, F, and 2(1) of the Fire Precaution Premises Regulation of 2003, LI 1724. the Ghana National Police, Ghana National Fire Service, and the National Insurance Commission embark on pre-enforcement and enforcement exercises annually to ensure compliance of the provision in Section 218 of the Insurance Act 2021. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member. A supplementary?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I seek your guidance that, fire has been a very terrific thing in recent times, and therefore crave your indulgence that if we could intensify the pre-enforcement and enforcement measures to make sure that most of the people who occupy commercial buildings really comply with this provision of the Act. Thank you.
Honourable Minister, since you didn't get a question. Honourable Member, can you repeat your question?
I'm asking the Honourable Minister to intensify the level of pre-enforcement and enforcement measures, since fire has been very rampant lately. Thank you.
This is a comment, really not a question. Any further question? Thank you very much. Question number 42. Standing in the name of Honourable Vincent Eko Asafua, Member of Parliament for Old Tafu. Yes, Honourable
Thank you.
Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I please ask your leave to stand in and ask the question for
Honourable Deputy Minority Leader.
Yes.
My leave is subject to authority being given you by Honourable Eko Asafua.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
In line with Standing Order 89.3.
So, Mr. Speaker, under the authority of Honourable Vincent Asafua, may I please ask your leave?
Please
Take
do.
your leave to ask the question on the behalf.
Please do.
Thank you very much. Honourable, I rise to ask the Minister for the Interior the current state of resources and logistics available to the Ghana National Fire Service in tackling fire outbreaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana National Fire Service has a total number of 247 fire appliances across the country. Out of this number, 199 are in commission and 48 are out of commission and are being worked on at the various mechanical workshops of the service in the regions to ensure their continuous use. Mr. Speaker, appliances include all fire-fighting trucks, recovery trucks, turntable ladders, hydraulic platforms, and water tankers. Mr. Speaker, the Ghana National Fire Service has a total workforce of 17,514 personnel. These personnel have been deployed throughout the country to perform various operational duties. However,
that's the Honourable Muntaka Mubarak. He is the Interior Minister. We got word initially that Murtala Mohammed, who is the Environment, Science and Technology Minister, is expected on the floor of the House as well in relation to LI 2462 having to do with our fight against illegal mining. Let's connect now with my colleague Evelyn Tingma, who's in Parliament for us, get a sense of what has brought the Interior Minister to Parliament and what more questions he's been answering and what more we can expect from the floor of the House today. Evelyn, talk to us about what the initial question was for the Interior Minister and what his response has been.
So, Mawena, he has been answering a number of questions from the House. And first of all, he answered a question from the Minority Leader, Alexander Atenjo-Markin, in response to the violence that occurred during the Council of State elections in the Ashanti region on the 11th of February 2025. He also answered a question from the same Minority Leader, Elizabeth Akinyi on the arrest of the Enes Yaokumi, the MP for Aketia, and he also answered a question on the armed robbery cases in Wale, and he's now answering this particular question. And so he's here to answer a number of questions. And regarding the Wale case, he says that the crime rate, of course, the question that he was asked is that what plans are there to curb the increasing cases of armed robbery in the Wale constituency and in the western part of the region. And what he is saying is that looking at the statistics, and there has been a decrease in the reported cases. And so, for instance, he said in 2022 they had 30 robberies. 2023 the number reduced to 23. 2024 there were 18 reported cases, and then January to February this year 3 cases. And so he says there is a decrease. And so basically that is what he's been answering the questions here from the members of Parliament. Marina.
And outside of the Interior Minister, is there any suggestions as well that there could be the laying of LI 2462 a lot later in Parliament today?
Yes, Marina, as we speak now, we do not have that paper in the order paper yet, but the sector minister is in the House, and if there could be any of that, I'm sure he might have submitted it to the table office, and they will schedule it. And so I'm sure that if that will be late today, it will be put in the additional paper, which they call the addendum paper. And so if that will be done later, it could be taken. But as we speak, we do not have that item on the order paper. But we are also expecting the House to debate the budget statement today. And so that has been scheduled in the order paper. And so after the minister has answered, and the Interior Minister has finished answering his questions, we are also expecting the Finance Minister to answer some questions also scheduled here for him. And after that, the House will now go into the debate of the 2025 budget. Marina.
Right then, Evelyn, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Evelyn Tingma. She is in Parliament for us, providing details. We can now focus our attention on the conversations in relation to the fight against illegal mining and safeguarding our water bodies committee.
Indeed. Now, some 460 water guards have been recruited for training to kickstart the government's Blue Water Initiative aimed at restoring the health of the country's rivers and other water bodies. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofibua, who launched the program, disclosed a total review of the mining licensing regime will be conducted. Irama Smith has more.
The Blue Water Initiative is a comprehensive program by government that seeks to address the root causes of water contamination and degradation in the country. It is part of its effort to combat illegal mining activities and address pressing issues such as river pollution, degradation, and unsustainable water use. The 460 who are the first batch of trainees are undergoing specialized training at the Ghana Navy Forward Operating Base in Ezilebo, Jomoro District to become frontline defenders of Ghana's water bodies. In his address at the launch of the program, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofibua, emphasized the urgency of the situation.
At the heart of why we are here is the Blue Water Initiative. And at the heart of this initiative lies the Blue Water Guards program, which aims to train, this year alone, 2,000 dedicated individuals across the country to protect our valuable water bodies. Water guards will serve as the frontline defenders of our rivers, ensuring that our water resources remain a source of life, livelihood, prosperity for generations to come. The responsibilities of the Blue Water Guards are paramount in the fight against illegal mining, especially for our water bodies. And the focus will be monitoring river health.
He further announced that the ministry will undertake 2 key projects in the coming weeks, the Tree for Life program, and conduct a major overhaul of the mining license issuance process.
And let me take the liberties to say that you will see that in the coming week, President Mahama will take steps to also tackle the issues of our forest by launching a major initiative in the coming week, the Tree for Life. We are also in the coming week going to announce major revisions on how we give mining licenses and do a complete review of the licensing regime to ensure that we break sanity and ensure that we decentralize the licensing process.
Let's now have a conversation with the convener of the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Ken Ashigbe. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. Good afternoon to you. Let's start off with the Blue Water Initiative. How impactful could this be to returning our waters to sanity?
Well, thank you very much for having me. So the Blue Water Initiative itself, you know, it's an interesting initiative because it's about returning our waters back to life. The interesting thing is what was launched yesterday, the Blue Water Guard. We have had water. The only thing is that they were not colored blue. In 2022, the former government announced an initiative like that. In 2024, they also announced another initiative like that. These water guards who are supposed to be at the front line and are supposed to be doing monitoring and evaluation, how are they going to deal with some of these people who are heavily armed down the water bodies, who are on dangerous part of the water bodies that even the naval officers there, you know, risk losing their lives. So for me, I think that we need to do in terms of the environmental plan, the 20% of the important things that are planned. So again, I think the point has to be made that we have the Minister for Land and Water Resources, a minister who is really committed to restoring our water bodies and has started some good initiatives. But what we need to do now is the fact that you have 9 of your forest reserves, means that the minister has gotten the military to reclaim about 3 or 4 of them. You have portions of your country that are beyond you have been taken over by some criminals, who, a lot of which are foreign elements, who are your forestry guards cannot go to. The state of emergency is a prerequisite to all of these 2 initiatives and the first thing that the president wants to do. So that is the first thing that we should be doing, making sure that we get these military out of those places, deploying the strong force of the army, the military, to be able to face them and outgun them.
Hello, Doc, are you still there?
That has to be done. At least the good thing is that the government is in the process of amending that LI 2462, and so I'm sure the Minister for Environment will be taking a bill to Parliament. I am struggling to find out why the MPP, the minority chief whip, is still insisting that this bill would have to go through the pre-laying thing. That might result in a delay in getting, the bill passed. So I think it's important that whatever we need to do, we need to make sure that that obnoxious law is completely taken off our books.
Indeed, Doc. The minister, the sector minister also mentions a number of things the government will be doing in the coming days or weeks as far as the fight against Galamsey is concerned. He talked about something like the Tree for Life. We do not have the details of that, but also decentralizing licensing for, for mining and a review, an overhaul of the licenses that exist already. How crucial are these to the fight against Galamsey?
Well, I think that those are also very important initiatives that we need to do because especially the issues about decentralizing the licenses, getting the local communities involved, making sure that it becomes a KPI for the MCs and the DPs that would be in those communities. The Tree for Life project, how are you going to do Tree for Life in forest reserves that these security tasks have taken over from? So all of those processes, including the goal board, are very important initiatives. But you need to do the first thing of making sure that you are securing these forests so that these activities are able to take place in those places. So I think that there are some interesting things that are being done. The only challenge I don't know why the government seems to have that is the fact that they are not ready, to do whatever it takes to be able to reclaim our forest reserves back to us, and then also the water bodies that have champans sitting on it.
Doc, thank you so much for talking to us. Dr. Ken Ashigbe is convener of the Coalition Against Illegal Mining. You're watching News Central. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you more stories. Yes, a look at what you can expect when we return. Ministry establishes a 13-member committee to review Section 128 of the Road Traffic Regulation 2012. We'll tell you more about that in a tad.
you're welcome back to News Central. We're going on to some other stories that affect both you and I. It has to do with transportation, because the Minister for Transport has established a 13-member committee to review Section 128, 1, 2, and 3 of the Road Traffic Regulations 2012 LI 2180, which currently prohibits the commercial use of motorcycles and tricycles, commonly known as okada. The committee has been given a 3-week timeline to assess the regulation and make recommendations on the possible legalization and regularization of the use of motorbikes and tricycle operations in Ghana. The move signals a potential shift in government policy on okada operations, which have been a contentious issue due to concerns over road safety and the economic benefits they offer. The outcome of the committee's review could have significant implications for transport policy and urban policy in the country. And we also know that the NDC government has promised to legalize okada. In fact, it was one of the major thematic subjects in their 2020 manifesto. It featured in the 2024 manifesto as well. Deborah Mensah is my colleague. She's following up on the work and the launch of this committee. She's joined us via the telephone lines. Deborah, talk to us about what the minister has been saying at the inauguration of this committee.
Okay, Marina, as rightly said, the legalization of the okada was one of the forefront policies of the NDC. And the minister says after a feasibility study, which was done in Kigali, they have come to a conclusion to set this 13-member committee to sit down, collect data, and put things together and see how well it can best fit into the transport system in the country, Marina.
And do we know who the members of this committee?
So members of the committee consist of the Road Safety Authority and the Ghana Police Service as well.
Right, let's hear from the minister who's been speaking at this particular event.
The committee is made up of key institutional law enforcement representatives. We are a 13-member committee. The committee's task will be to engage through discussions, data gathering, and analyzing best practices to ensure amendments to the road traffic regulations address safety concerns whilst promoting economic benefits. It is crucial that we hear the voices of those who operate commercial motorcycles and tricycles and those who rely on these services on a daily basis. Therefore, stakeholder consultations will be undertaken beyond.
As the transport minister, we know that there were okada riders as well present. Let's try and listen to them and what they had to share as well.
The work, say, not good like that, but you see, when many of them which did not have the lances, roadworks, and how to call them, insurance. You see, it's not easy to make it all those things. But you know, sometimes when the police arrest you, they have to ask.
Thoughts from the streets in relation to the planned legalization of okada. And so we'll get details. But Deborah, we know that 3 weeks is a time frame they've been given to work. What happens after the committee's work is done?
Hello, Mauna, come again.
Yes, I'm asking 3 weeks is what the committee has been given to work. What happens afterwards?
Okay, so after the 3 weeks, then they will sit again to analyze the data that they've gotten so far and see how best they can set the rules and regulations to best guide these okada riders. Mauna.
Thank you very much. That's Deborah Mensah. She's my colleague here at TV3 providing details.
Now, Chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, says the nation must focus on making changes to the legal framework to deal with various challenges, including illegal mining. The committee today commenced stakeholder engagements with academics in the area of lands and natural resources, sharing their views on possible constitutional amendments. Listen to Professor Prempeh open the engagement with the stakeholders.
So we are very grateful that you have essentially offered yourselves to assist us with the knowledge and expertise that you have. It is the Lands and Natural Resources cluster is the first of our public engagements. There is some logic to it. I mean, it's not. It doesn't mean that it is. There's a bit of a logic to the ranking, but I think it's also important that we start here. This being Ghana, a resource-rich country, and when we talk about development, that's really what provides oftentimes the base in terms of revenue capacity as a country. The natural resources are also very topical these days in the news around Galamsey and other issues. So I think it's important that we focus on that as well. But we also have sequenced these discussions in part looking at, we're starting with those provisions of the Constitution that those chapters where there are more non-entrenched clauses than entrenched clauses, right? So we want to get a sense of the scope of the reform possibilities in that particular area. So lands and natural resources happens to be one of those areas. So we are very glad that you are going to be able to share your knowledge and expertise with us on this.
Now, land law expert Professor Kwame Jan says that the chieftaincy conflicts in northern Ghana are fundamentally rooted in unresolved land issues, a gap that the Constitution must address to ensure lasting solutions. Speaking at the ongoing Constitution Review Committee stakeholder engagements, he noted that reviewing the Constitution would go a long way to bring lasting peace.
For years, the northern lands were vested in the colonial government, subsequently continued by the independent state. So in the Tamale areas and elsewhere up north, lands were allocated by state entities. Article 257(3) automatically divested all the northern lands without further assurance. And there are still pockets of problems associated with the divesting of the northern lands. Some of those lands had been encumbered by state authorities. Some of those lands, ownership was not established. So you plunged the lands back into chaos with the divesting without further assurance. And the aftermath is still there to be dealt with. They've not been dealt with. So you see, some of the confusion up north, which we clothed as chieftaincy problems, are not chieftaincy problems. They are land problems dressed as chieftaincy problems because the chieftaincy denominator is the easiest one. So if you go back and you are looking at Mampursi and Kusasi and you think it's a chieftaincy problem, it's not. It's about who got to the land first and who later became chief because somebody was a Tendana and someone came with chieftaincy and they are fighting. It's the land because the control over the land is either through a Tindanaship or through chiefship. So we will fight. You can't just be a Tindana, but as for chiefship, you can create it.
Now, President John Mahama is expected to arrive in Sierra Leone today for an official visit. Upon his arrival, President Mahama will be welcomed by Sierra Leonean President Dr. Julius Maada Bio alongside reps from Ghana's diplomatic missions in the country at the Freetown International Airport. The two leaders are set to engage in bilateral talks to strengthen the relationship between their countries. The discussions are anticipated to cover areas of mutual interest, including trade, economic and social infrastructure, as well as regional cooperation.
In our special series today, in the heart of Ghana, a cultural treasure is fading away. The Bono language, spoken by the Bono people of the Bono region, is now on the brink of extinction. With fewer fluent speakers remaining, mostly elders, this ancient language is at risk of being lost forever. Our reporter Claude Kumi Abisa brings us an insight into the issue.
Globalization and the dominance of widely spoken languages like English and Twi have pushed indigenous languages like Bono to the margins. This has, however, sparked concerns amongst elders and community leaders with a call to action for all Bonos to cherish and protect their invaluable heritage.
Our language is vanishing. In our homes, only the English language is used to communicate with the little children.
And it is a bad precedent we are setting for the future generation. Many young people see little economic or social value in learning their ancestral tongue, opting instead for languages that offer broader opportunities.
In my school like this, people think that we are in the bush. And so people, when they travel outside the Bono region, the intimidation and then the abuse and all of that, they are compelled to speak other people's language, not of that of their local languages.
Place like Sunyani, previously it was all Bono that we used to speak. But what happened in the end is that because of the influx of a lot of people coming through the city, what is now happening is that we are speaking other Akan languages, which is not our own. And it is because we are not teaching that in schools. If we were taught in schools, then obviously you have the confidence of speaking that.
When a language dies, we lose a part of humanity's collective heritage. Therefore, pragmatic measures are needed to document and revitalize the language. These are the words of Ansu Jaba, Chief Executive Officer of the Bonoman Institute, in an interview with TV3.
The Bono is not being taught in schools and examined on. So definitely the language will go into extinction. So if you don't put pragmatic measures in place to save the dialect from extinction, I think in 20 or 30 years' time, the language will go down as one of the endangered languages in Ghana or even in the world.
Despite the challenges, there is hope. The Bonoman Institute and cultural organizations are working to preserve the Bono language. Initiatives including the launch of the Bono Bible, documentation and efforts to teaching the Bono language in schools.
We have been to some other stakeholders like the Ghana Education Service, and they really expressed their interest because they also see that it is something that must be done, and it is better late than never. And so we as pioneers of this project are confident enough to ensuring that in the end the dream is actualized.
Meanwhile, a call to support the initiative to have the Bono language recognized had been made in Parliament.
To which I'm appealing to all Bonos to be happy about the fact that now we are making deliberate, conscious efforts to have the Bono language recognized, documented, written, and used for all purposes in schools in Bono region, and then to also have the Bible written in the Bono language.
The fight to save the Bono language is a race against time, but with collective effort and determination, this ancient tongue may yet survive, ensuring that the rich cultural heritage of the Bono people endures for generations to come. Claude Kumi Ebisa, TV3 News, Sunyani.
The importance of local Ghanaian language. It's always
Indeed,
very
indeed.
important that you teach it and as many people as possible can. There are concerns about the number of the languages going extinct. At least I get to hear Bono a lot more. I mean, once a while, I know
You know a few people.
It, yes.
Oh, right.
But I think there are some languages that we got wind of that some are going extinct.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
We have to find indigenous speakers. There's an entire conversation that can be had in relation to languages and it's going extinct. We know in Accra, there's been concerns about a lack of Ga teachers. From the story as well, we understand there are lack of teachers of the language as well. And so I think on the basic front, outside of the home, there's a certain level of expectation that within the areas where the language originally originates,
well, I mean, yeah, we get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there needs to be a conscious effort also to document these languages.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Chi speakers, but they can read Chi or write Chi. I mean, who does that help? Say 10 years, 20 years from now.
All you can do is speak the language and can
write
it
or read
it as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can read bits and pieces of Ewe.
Well, I can read and write Ga. So
yeah, I can read Ga.
We can carry it alone.
Ewe. Yeah.
It has to be a national effort to do that.
Yeah, conscious, like you mentioned, very conscious
Absolutely.
efforts to ensure that our language. We have lots of languages actually.
A whole lot of them, particularly in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, I wish I could do like 5 local languages.
Yeah, it's not too late.
Maybe I'll pick it up.
You can take some lessons.
Yeah, I'll pick it up. That's our bulletin for you this afternoon. I am Mawina.
And I am Kemini Amano. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Next, though, is the afternoon show. Bye-bye from us.